1, I'll ask for picks and bans now. 2, I'll ask for Dobbos Disciples to answer some sort of question.
I thought you were going to say 2. I want them to ban this, then this, then this, and just go for it all.
You know what? Fine. 2, I want them to ban Achilles.
Who's next?
Next, I want them to ban Merlin. Merlin.
You're almost...
That was so good.
I want to know who was going to be after Merlin. Would it have been Jubba?
It would have been Hades. Oh, no, European Powers. Dobbos.
Okay. We'll give you 1, even though it was on the screen.
No, it would be Hercules.
We'll give you 1, even though it was on the screen. Already.
No, I'm so angry.
Why?
Because in my brain, I was like, the Dobbos Disciples, like, Vaporish Coast is the scariest player on the team, so they should ban Jingwei. But, like, nobody does that. And then they ban the Jingwei.
It just shuts down. Well, the reason for the Jingwei ban I feel here from European Powerhouses is they get a priority pick, but they also don't have double go, well, okay, Jubelonki's bang, let's take Jingwei and have a nice easy lane.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of hunters are normally, most metas, hunters are kind of the same. You got to jump or not. But we're so knock-up heavy right now. Ratatoskr, even Bacchus shows up. He's kind of gone a little bit to the wayside, but still very exciting. Rat is first pick, and if you get jumped on by a rat, you can jump on out. It negates all sorts of pick. You just can't play so back into a Jingwei. So she's a little bit different. I always say don't ban the character, ban the play style. And so by banning out Jingwei, it actually is an effective ban. So.
Honestly, game 1 though really came down to Dobbos' composition they put together. Jingwei, Zeus for the damage dealers, but the Odin problem for me was like he went hybrid itemization, didn't do any damage with it, and ended up just being a non-factor, which really impacted the rest of the game and allowed EP to get control of the jungle, which carried on to exacerbate the issue in the other lanes.
When you look at the PC Pro League, what you see out of the strong jungle players like Ice Ice Baby, they'll build Transcendence if they want. They'll build full damage, and then you want to look at some of the Odin players on console. Wolves, he'll build full tank. I think hybrid is one idea. I think early game pure damage, late game pure tank is a different one. So.
Well, Dobbos drafted the Ullr there. Not real surprised to see that, especially with Jubelonki and Jing taken off the table. Please no. I mean, I'd rather see the Naja there, but generally, more we've seen Naja in the supportive roles as of late. Now going back towards the jungle again after some changes, but still think Naja is really strong.
Naja is, and I don't catch flack for this, and I feel like I preface the statement for no reason. Naja is flat out one of the best characters in the game. I say it so often that I always feel like I need to defend myself because I'm fanboying over him. But realistically,
if you can land your stuff.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest difference there, is landing your stuff. Because if you don't, you're going to have a hard time with things. You miss the sash, or you hit the wrong target, you miss your ultimate, you're in no man's land then, and you're looking for someone to save you.
Well, from one of my favorite things in SMITE to one of my least favorite things in SMITE, the joke that Nuwa doesn't have to hit her skill shots.
I thought you were going to roast Agni then. I'm like, don't you dare.
No, Agni's my homie. He's got 2 heads.
Because he roasts people. Burn things. Oh, you're going to do it to me now? Is that how it's going to be on the desk? Okay. Okay.
Nuwa is going to come through, so some interesting damage. I'm really not too much of a fan of Nuwa outside of the auto attack world. When you look at Bakasura, Kali, etc., Nuwa can go to space and then they have to go find something else to do. I like her to escape those situations. But outside of that, I always feel like there's a better mage.
What I always like about Nuwa, the only thing I do like about Nuwa overall is the fog. The mysterious fog is not because you can hide in it, but also your teammates. It is very mysterious. You don't know where they are. They just know they're in the fog the entire time. But they can juke around inside that, and because of the invisibility, the stealth mechanic being a little bit quicker now, it's actually giving it a little bit more play around it, so you can sneak your Terra into the fog to the front line to get the walls off, potentially, but also escape with it too.
Oh, yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't do that.
I was thinking about it.
Are you not bored after your rap?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Thor. Every time you do that from now on, I'm going to bring up the rap. I'm going to tell all the other casters too as well.
I like this draft. I like this draft from European Powerhouses, but I will be honest, it is extremely high execution. And although that they won the last game, I am nothing if I'm not honest. I question European Powerhouse's ability to execute this level of execution. When you're going to play Thor solo, Rat solo, I think it's the windows are a little smaller.
Dobbos has 3 assassins on this composition, and then an Ullr, which is pretty much an assassin anyway. That's a lot of high. This is going to be an in and out composition from Dobbos. One jumps in, does their damage, tries to get out. The next one goes in, and it's going to be a tale of that. What can EP do in response?
We'll see if Dobbos has the outright just raw strength to take game number 2, or if they will be the first ones to fall to EPX. John Finch and Anatoly on the call. Ready, set, go.
Man, you can always tell when Dobbos have kind of taken a bad loss because reflexively Vapourish Coast goes over to the Ullr as if to say, I need something I can hard carry on now. So he's picked this up, and really it feels like they've all kind of done that. They all have a god now who can individually like win fights and can turn the team fights themselves in instead of what they were doing last game.
Tiger's like, you shall not pass. I love it. I absolutely love it. He knows how to do this strategy, so of course he's got an idea about how to do it defensively.
Well, their whole team is here right from the jump this time. This is what Dobbos did not do last time because they didn't recognize just how much trouble they were in. Genesis secures the speed buff with help from his friends, and that means now Switch and USB will have to settle for stealing these XP Harpies instead. Though Tiger's right here to try and take them at the last moment.
Looking for the stun. He actually got it, but he might give up his life. No, he has the sprint to counter the horrific emblem. Interesting idea for OPUSB to invade against the Thor, because you could position yourself to body block both the Screech and the Vampire Bats, but Switch didn't make the full rotation to apply the ring bounces.
Tiger is still trying to keep his jungle
it.
standing. That's insane. He defended that
beast.
and the camp. I mean, this is huge. And I don't know if we talked about it enough, you know, breaking down the last game. That really was just Tiger making big plays for them in the early game to set them up for that lead. It's like, yeah, you might know how to spend your $1 million loan very well, your small $1 million loan, but the person who got you that $1 million loan was Tiger.
Yeah.
And I did try and take a shot there in the middle at our president. Yes.
I got you. So looking at the combined experiences between OPUSB and Switch, that doesn't even take into account for what Tiger has been able to get between the back camps, between the blue buff as well. He's been making great strides of making sure that Azrael on the solo Ratatoskr wouldn't fall too far behind in the experience category, but after invading the blue buff, he's kind of given up some lane pressure, so he has to kind of chill, heal back up, save up some of that gold to get upgraded acorns, and then really start to control the laning phase.
Really did limit a lot of the farm there. Now, obviously, Genesis wasn't able to get those Harpies or the blue buff either, which he probably normally does get, but he was able to give some of that over to Tiger, who hits level 2 ahead of Switch. Compromise avoids the axe from Coast, though, and that gets him out of there. He still had beads, even if he did get hit, but you'll like to hold on to those against an Ullr.
Is there a ward? There is a ward. They spotted out the rotation from EP, and they're going to be looking to counter invade at the same time. Identifying it is going to be Nuon, the mid lane. I don't think she's going to be able to stop it in her own, though.
Maybe she can contest over the wall with Shiny's Metal if she can get there in time. But it looks like she will not. Colossxl grabs the speed. He's on to Suku, and he should be able to get out of there at any point as USB ends up quite low in the trade with Azrael.
Tier 2 for Azrael to be able to really start bullying with the Ratatoskr. It's only about 700 gold to finish off that Tier 3 item, making Ratatoskr not only a great jungle pick, but also a great solo pick to be able to find ways to bully out the opposition. And fighting fire with Fire, Genesis going to go even more global pressure with the Thor, adding on top of the Nuon and Ratatoskr. It's looking like a good switch-up of a composition where EP had great team fighting presence with the Hades solo lane, the Terra now for themselves to be able to control more space.
Now control both blue buffs to go along with that space totally, as Azrael was able to move forward and strip away the blue. He'll come back now to his own blue buff on the back end. EP have shown a great comfort, I feel like, in this early game so far. They don't have quite the tremendous lead they had before. They do have Switch, though, quite far behind, which is nice. But this looks like a team that can maybe build off their early game leads.
It's a lot of Tiger action, whether it's the Hercules game 1 or the Terran game number 2.
Is that like Tiger Blood? Tiger Action? Are those the same thing? Or maybe those are different.
I'm not going to go there. Because the other thing is for it. So it's basically whatever Blood, Tiger, and this, it's working out for EP.
Right.
It's been able to control the early game, whether it's offensively or defensively.
Would you say they're winning?
Always. Always winning. Well,
right,
maybe not always winning in this split, but
right.
at least winning in this set.
But now that they've started with the Tiger Blood, yes.
Now winning in this set.
Sure. I'll leave it alone, Till. I'm sorry. Your point. I'll let you know.
I forgot my point.
Oh, well. It was worth it. I got to make my Charlie Sheen joke. Those are still relevant, right? In 2019? Everyone loves those.
Do they?
No, probably not.
Probably not. Tiger's still being aggressive.
Of course.
Looking for the speed buff invade. Colossxl has been doing a good job warning to identify when it's happening, knowing that it's only Tiger this time. Sitting as a level 5 Awilix wasn't really denied a lot of experience. Even though Tiger was able to prevent Genesis from losing experience, he wasn't able to deny Colossxl the same way he did in game number 1.
Azrael trades out with USB on the right-hand side. Red buff was spawning in left, but it looks like EP don't want to be there for it. In fact, just Switch who goes in aggressively, but it's hard to lock a Terra down, which he still has that dash available. But now the red buff does come on the menu for Dobbos as they push forward to look for the invade. And really, with only the new one nearby, that is a successful steal for Dobbos.
Red buff invading game 1 was all EP. This time it's for Dobbos, trying to allow the rotation from Vapor's Coast to be fruitful. He looked for a pick in that mid lane. Once he realized he couldn't get it, settles for the red buff invade instead. And still, OPUSB can't catch a break.
He absolutely cannot. In fact, he might be in trouble.
He's dead.
As he ends up getting hit by the fire shards and by the ultimate from Genesis and the ultimate. I mean, that was just too much, and he ends up going down. An easy cleanup for EP. That was actually first blood as well, 5.5 minutes in as they get off to a good start.
OPUSB is like, excuse me for trying to go for my own blue buff. How dare me? But without the Bat Out of Hell ultimate for the CC immunity, that was a free kill. Genesis used that Anvil of Dawn from the Fire Giant side. The Fire Shards identifies no one was even rotating for the assistance.
He was ganked by 2.5 men. He literally was. He was ganked by Genesis and Azrael.
No,
and then the ultimate from
Nuwa.
That's half because he wasn't all the way
But
there.
that's not the correct gender.
Oh, not a man. Oh, well, okay, sure. It's 2.5 men still. I love it.
It almost worked.
I think it worked.
Almost
Let's
worked.
keep that going. We don't know. We don't know what Sacuille. We don't know what that person is.
Well, they're playing a Nuwa.
Sure.
I guess you might be able to go off players.
Yeah, I sure can.
But not their gods.
What a successful reference from Finch. It's
I hate
just
it.
too
I hate
easy
it.
for
I
me.
thought casting with F-Dot was difficult, but you're trying to take the cake on that one.
I'm on my way there. But we can talk about SMITE too if that's what you want to talk about. I'm happy to do it. As USB has had a rough time here this game on the Camazotz. And really, the reason you pick this Camazotz in solo lane, even to matchups like King Arthur, is because usually he's able to establish pressure without too much trouble, but he's been getting harassed.
It's not only the harassment, it's because of the start that wasn't successful for Dobbos, with
That's right.
Tiger being able to defend everything.
They lost quite a bit of time trying to farm as Tiger actually gets pulled back in by Colossxl on the Awilix, still dashing his way back through, and the sprint. Tiger makes it out, and now Switch in some trouble. He's dancing inside the Suns, and Compromise finds a kill of his own.
Azrael making the rotation with the Ratatoskr
Wow.
solo lane, finding a kill
Are these
onto
names
this
right?
Naja.
Are they in the right spot?
I think so.
That's incredible,
It's
man, what
looking
we've been seeing
clean.
from them. This has been very clean from EP so far.
2-0 at 8 minutes in. Game number 1 went their way very convincingly, despite not having the kill advantage. They ended the game at 8 kills for EP versus the 9 for Dobbos Disciples. This time, though, they're controlling it very well. Not the biggest goal lead you would expect because they haven't been able to invade the red buffs. And denying the blue buff farm is just not enough for EP to establish control yet.
That's right. This game not nearly as bad as game number 1 was for Dobbos Disciples, so the inverse not nearly as good for EP, but still, I mean, it's been very impressive for them. I don't know if we can stress enough how strong this Dobbos team is. Not just here in this phase, but Coast and Fly were on really the only good European team all of Season 5, and they were that core of that team, at least in terms of the carries. So you really do have high expectations for them, and European Powerhouses have done nothing this season except come out here and impress us here in this game.
Tiger avoiding quite a bit of abilities there, just going to double dash away, and you're so right, Finch. Dobbos Disciples is the prestige team that you would expect to be able to control this best-of-3 set, but they haven't proven up to their namesake quite yet.
Yeah.
EP really sneaking game number 1 under themselves. In game number 2, at least Dobbos Disciples has some factors that they can lean on. The execution between the Awilix, Naja, Ullr, and even Agni, like all these gods, Camazotz included, have a high skill cap, high ceiling to be able to really start snowballing. But the problem is that they haven't been able to group up to find these kills.
Well, there is some good news. If I told you that that these two teams are going to have their hunters be the most farmed ones and far away, then you would blind pick the team with Vapore's Coast on it as the hunter,
Yes.
right? If you told me the hunters are going to be out in front. So that is maybe some good news, that Coast is a bit ahead of Compromise and by extension ahead of everyone else. Level 11 on this Ullr, has the Transcendence finished and is working on those stacks. If he can make some big rotations and some big plays, then Dobbos haven't gone anywhere.
I just don't know if that's enough of a lead that
Yeah.
Dobbos can lean on quite yet. Vapore's Coast needs to find a solo kill maybe to enable a Gold Fury or maybe even sneak a Gold Fury, but without lifesteal, it's going to be difficult.
USB in trouble yet again. He is able to make it into the bat out of hell, but he gets dropped out of the ultimate. A great timing on that dash, but it's still not enough. He needs the heal to be able to survive throughout all of this. He finally gets it, but now he has to juke those autos coming out from Genesis, but you can't juke the spin. A nice kill onto the tier 1.
Trying to stun out Colossxl, needs to worry about the knock-up, will avoid it in the correct direction. Switch wasn't there in time to apply any ring bounce slows. Vapore's Coast now looking for an escape in a 1v2.
Well, recognize that Tiger was here as well, and he had to jump to get out of there. Looks for the turnaround hail of arrows, can't find that, finds Bladed, and that does bring Compromise low, but he won't get the kill. Meanwhile, there's further aggression from Dobbos on the right side of the map now as they move into the jungle of EP, but Coast ends up falling in that duel. Looks like he stayed in the 2v1 and couldn't win it.
A little bit too aggressive, not respecting the Earthen Fury. There was no Suns as it was used earlier, but still, that Terra's ultimate applies too much damage. And the beads was not enough for him to get out of that one. He used a jump to go away, but then he's looking for a fight afterwards, as that's something that Vapore's Coast generally likes to do.
Well, they were around the halfway point in the lane, too, at least Tiger and Compromise were when that ended. So, I mean, maybe it was like a long-distance ricochet that hit him. Either that or, like you said, Coast went back in
I think he
looking
just
for the
went
fight.
back in.
And if I had to pick one, you're right. Coast going back in sounds like the Coast that we all know. So maybe he thought he could find the kill on the Compromise, but unfortunately gets punished. And that hurts. I just talked about how Coast being ahead could still be that safety valve for Dobbos. Well, not if he ends up falling, as Azrael takes quite a bit of poke here in the trade.
He's trying to use the minions to his advantage, knowing that 3 archers, 4-on-1, right? Like 3 archers plus a Ratatoskr versus a Camazotz you would think would be enough, but no, those archers are actually helping the Camazotz because he can use his jump to heal off of them anytime he wants, and landing those vampire bats onto Azrael has been certainly helping out thus far. Camazotz so good about winning most trades, and whenever you can win a trade against Arthur individually, you're probably going to win the trade against the Ratatoskr as well.
The invade comes out, but not successful. It's EP that defend the purple buff, and now Dobbos must run away. They can't quite land the root, and Tiger wants more, but can't find that either as Colossxl makes it back out of there. I like they were looking for the aggression, though, as that's opened up the door for USB to look for pressure and right. Though he can't quite stick around and take down the tier 1, and has to fall back there as well.
No teleport for Azrael for another 80 seconds, forced to make the rotation on the right side. Gonna defend the tier 1 tower for the moment. Blue buff is spawned, not being looked at by the Camazotz. Gold Fury still not being looked at by either team as Vapore's Coast is feeling very frisky now.
Very interesting as they look to pull this. Tiger's here and will have relayed to his team that this is happening, but Thor doesn't have his ultimate, and he won't be able to dunk in from range. They take Switch up. That means the Gold Fury's free. Dobbos take that one, but now can they get Switch back out of there? They can't. He ends up getting punished by the Nuwa, who goes right up into the air to drop the ultimate. They know where everyone is, but I think Dobbos have made their way out. But the tier 1 might be on the menu.
Yeah, but at what cost? They lost one support player. They're going to lose their tier 1 in the mid tower. Bombs trying to clear out the wave. Going to get stunned out, but no other follow. Double stun as well. Fly holding on to those beats very patiently, but look at this. Despite losing the tier 1 mid tower, Vapore's Coast going to answer back in the left.
So this is good. If they had just given up the Pyromancer in the tier 1 without a response, then EP actually would have come out on top. But Coast pushes up and finds the tier 1 on his own, so that means really it was Gold Fury traded for Pyro plus Switch's life, which I think still would favor Dobbos in this case.
I'm finishing off the Crusher now. A huge power spike to combo off of the abilities. Ullr generally going to
gross.
get off quite a bit there on any one target. It's going to be 3 abilities between the Axe Stun, the Bladed Arrow, and the Hail of Arrows, and that Crush are going to proc 3 times.
That is scary. Plus, Transcendence is fully evolved at this point. He's even got the Mage's Blessing, a little bit of extra power, all those abilities too. So certainly this Ullr will be swinging right around now. That mid-game is when he can be such a monster and still has plenty potent autos as well. The question is, can Dobbos continue to play around him? They did a good job on that Gold Fury and pulling in. But where else can they look for pressure?
They just abused the fact that EP were not in position. A couple members did back. Compromise was around the corner, but he didn't want to overextend and do anything silly against 4 members out of Dobbos. Now, the problem for Dobbos is their lack of team fighting control. They have great individual target selection with their whole comp, but if EP can force a 5-on-5 fight around Fire Giant utilizing Terra, Ho-Yi, like the space control that they have with Genesis using the Thor stuns, it's not going to be easy for Dobbos to find those individual targets.
Coast might be in trouble though. Genesis nearby, so is Tiger and Compromise. They could always all in him. They immediately force him to jump back. The root comes out as well, but he still has not used the beads. Now Genesis goes up into the air, and this could spell trouble for Coast. He does use the beads and the Aegis to try and keep himself alive, but he's only buying time. Genesis cleans that kill up. There are just too many members there.
Very clean and not even worrying about this rotation. Great double stun from Genesis, preventing the follow-up, even forcing the beads from Colossxl.
And now there's some trouble for the new Waz. USB has made the rotation in to try and clean up the mid laner. Inside that fog, though, it's hard to know where he is, but USB stays calm and cleans him up with that second hit.
But the right side was exposed a little bit. Tier 1 tower will fall. EP gonna get 500 gold for that one, sacrificing their mid player, but getting the dual lane Vaporish Coast. Surprised to see EP not go back into that Tier 1 tower, seeing how everyone from Dobbos kind of left that lane alone. But yet again, Vaporish Coast a little bit too far forward, doesn't have vision around the Gold Fury. A great flank from Tiger abusing this Hunter that doesn't have CC immunity in his kit.
Right. I mean, yeah, you might be right. I just don't know if there's anything any Hunter can do there except be at their tier 2. They were such a heavy commit.
I mean, if that was a Hachiman, he lives.
Yeah, he can leave on his ultimate, yeah.
Jingwei lives.
Maybe. If he doesn't get the ultimate forced out sooner. It's just so many levels of initiation that they had. They were so willing to commit to him in that point. You would have been extremely patient. Hachiman, yes, that's a fair point. Hachiman makes it out of there. But that's just tough, man. They commit so heavily onto him, and to be an Ullr and get out of that one, you would just have to be gone. You'd have to just leave the lane.
You would have to preemptively beads the Thor ultimate and hope that you can get under the tier 2 tower, because your teammates were too far behind. EP were still kind of getting farmed where they could in the jungle, in the mid lane, and that new ultimate is coming in clutch, because not only is it dealing damage to Vaporish Coast, it's spotting and identifying the defensive rotations
and letting them know where they are. You saw them use it after the Gold Fury. Even though they didn't get it, they gathered the information that Dobbos were so far retreated they could push up and take the tier 1, come back over towards Pyromancer. It really has been strong for them. Now with that Soul Reaver completed as well for the new one in the middle lane, there might even be a little bit of extra damage coming out onto some of these healthy targets.
He's going to start swinging momentarily. The Primal Fury about to spawn in 30 seconds, and dual lane gank now trying to be on Dobbos' favor.
How do you like it, Compromise? You also don't have a CC immune ultimate. He can move in it now, though. Remember, that's the patch that came through. It just was not enough. Colossxl cleans him up an easy 3v1.
You're going to find the root as well. Switch doesn't have the ultimate, but Fly going to dash in aggressively to save out his support.
Well, they know that they have these assassins who can rotate in easily. Coast in trouble first. Still does not have beads or Aegis available. He does have the beads, but not the Aegis. So it allows him to reposition. But I don't think Genesis likes the way that looks. No, instead of Coast, he's looking like he wants to come in right into the thick of the fight. He lands on the back line, does find the stun on to Fly, but it's the new Wa that goes down first.
Oh, that is so unfortunate for EP. They do find Colossxl at the least, but Genesis's Aegis not enough as he had to walk through the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, I don't even know if you use it there. You're definitely going to die to that tower, or at least to someone. So I don't even know that it buys him all that much time. And now Dobbos can come right back towards the Primal. Azrael and Tiger are nearby, though, but this has already been pulled.
First one was in the favor of Dobbos Disciple. This time, EP are prepared for it. They have not only Tiger, but also Azrael.
I love
2-on-3.
They just drop it, though, and immediately go for the fight instead. They've baited Azrael in, but this is a good job with the root from Tiger to buy them some time. and now the whole rest of the team is here. Azrael and Tiger did everything they needed to do.
Compromise even making his rotation felt. Fly gonna start rotating from the mid lane. Primal Fury at about 50% health. OverPoweredUSB still zoning.
He pushes forward. They now have Fly here for the extra DPS in the form of this Agni. He lets the bombs through. Dobbos secured the objective, but the fight on the back end becomes the next question. Switch is quite low, and up into the air goes Azrael. He hovers, waiting for his moment. Coast the target, knocks him up, but beads are there. That lets Coast reposition, and now Tiger's taking too much damage.
I think he actually got caught during the dash, so he's not going to be able to engage. No, never mind. He does have it. Going to find the route, forcing out OP's ultimate. At the end of the day, Dobbos still walks away cleanly with the Primal Fury.
That's a nice job grabbing that one from Dobbos, and even a much better job here in Game 2 as opposed to Game 1, staying relevant in the early to mid-game. Possibly because Tiger couldn't have quite the same impact as he did on the Hercules, but I think you'll still see plenty to come out from this Terra later on. Now, though, the Pyromancer under siege. Colossxl is here, but it's just about only Colossxl. Fly over the wall with some bombs, but not in time.
Wow.
Pyro to answer the Primal.
A lot of poke onto this level 13 Terra. Tiger sitting at about 15% health. Has the Genji's guard to deal with some of this Agni damage. Also, the Gauntlet of Thebes to get a hybrid look at it. Dobbos Disciples, though, always have a response in this game where they lose one objective, but they find another.
Tier 1 tower goes down in mid in favor of Dobbos, and they still hold on to a lead. But as you said, Tolly, it's been back and forth between these teams. Red Buff considered the invade from Dobbos, but they won't take it. It looks like they're considering the engage, but Genesis was too far away with when the Thor ultimate started. That would have been good if they committed to red,
yeah.
But since Dobbos fell back, Genesis had no target.
Too far away between the Tier 2 and the Tier 1. A good still defensive ultimate to ensure red buff goes to Compromise. Level 17 Hou Yi's not going to be mad about getting his own red buff for a Thor ultimate. And if Dobbos do want to engage, that Hou Yi's going to start swinging away with the Yobo. Plenty of attack speed to start synergizing with that Mark of the Golden Crow that just gets exponentially stronger the more health your target is missing.
You know, you highlighted what could be a potential problem for Dobbos earlier. You talked about how they have all this single target damage, which I think is a roundabout way of saying that they have 3 assassins, by the way. But yes, that is the situation that they're in. And that they might have some trouble in these team fights. They could have done a lot of picks, maybe, but now it'll depend on how well they can spread out EP. How well can they kind of find someone, even in the team fight, isolated just enough to burn them quickly and then still disengage. I don't know how much we like their full 5-on-5 presence.
Well, if OPUSB can do the same thing that he's done the past 2 engagements, and that's focusing out this Nuwa, killing her, then I don't think Dobbos really has any issues about the rest of the team fight, because it's not been easy for the Nuwa to escape the clutches of this Camazotz, even in her own fog.
And they've got plenty of assassins on their team, too, for EP with this Thor and with this Ratatoskr. And that global rotation, that's going to start losing some value, too, the more the fights start getting clumped up. It is still nice, you know, to be able to initiate from the sky and essentially just pick a spot. So certainly there will be some value there, but not as much when it's not generating the numbers advantage as well.
But you don't always have to use those ultimates globally for PvP. Blink onto Compromise. He had to use the beads to safely jump over the wall, preventing the Awilix pull, as Tiger can only be a spectator as this Tier 2 tower crumbles in that dual lane. And this is how Dobbos is going to start, you know, putting money in their bank, is utilizing their pick composition and zoning the rotations away while Vapore's Coast just casually does his thing.
They grab the Tier 2 and left, they grab the red buff and the beads away from Compromise, as you highlighted, which makes him that much more vulnerable the next time these fights comes around. A Sash, an Agni bomb, a knock-up from Colossxl, even an errant axe from Vapore's Coast, and that could spell the end here from the Hunter, who has no CC immunity in his ult. He does have that change where he can glide a little bit as he's dropping the ult, which does feel nice. I just don't know if it's going to be quite enough to make up for some of the safety that a lot of other Hunters can have sometimes, as Genesis just barely makes it out.
He kind of had his back turned to Fly because he was looking at what was happening in that dual lane. Tiger now making the rotation, trying to isolate Switch there, but the ring bounce gonna start chipping away at Nuwa's health pool. Not super worried if the Monolith comes back up. Genesis, though, gonna receive the Naja ult.
Taken right up into the sky. Damage coming through as well from the rest of the squad. Genesis is quite low. But look where Azrael is. He's dived all the way into the back line to try and take down Fly early on, but Coast is right there to peel for him, and now they have some help in the form of USB. Knockup is there from Colossxl, and that's one way to isolate some targets, is that you just survive when they dive you in the back line.
Azrael not able to do the same effect that USB was able to against the mid player. Fly living with a sliver of health, using the Aegis, still has his beans available for the next one, and Fly's Agni has been pretty much on point this game. He hasn't had too many kills this game, but he's been at the right place at the right time to play setup Agni.
Not nearly as much trouble as he had on the Zeus in game 1, where he was still like level 14 at this point in the game and struggling to find farm. So looking much better this time. But that was so interesting. I mean, Coast and Fly do such a good job surviving that dive from the USB. Yes, he does get a ton of damage, but it buys enough time, or not the gank from USB, excuse me, from Azrael, and it buys time for USB to rejoin them in the back line, even for Colossxl to get there and for them to grab some damage. But this is huge. The Fury goes down, so Dobbos know that the Fire Giant's free. USB blinks in right away, maybe a little bit too soon, but now he can try and contest the objective. Goes up. EP are able to defend the Fire Giant, though it's not the enhanced version, but they'll continue to fight on the back end.
Still looking for a little bit more. Up in the sky is Genesis. Lands right on top of Colossxl. Berserker Barrage just enough to find the kill.
And so then they're going to have the follow-up from Azrael. He drops into the back line to try and help. The hammer brings Coast quite low, and he has to fall back. Earth and Fury hits his whole team. That's big. And now they continue to surge forward. A perfect axe stun, though, stops the route, but USB might still be in trouble.
Looking for more. Gonna find a slow. No ultimate for USB. He's gonna be the second casualty from Dobbos. And Dobbos has been focusing too much on the left-hand side, gave a small window for EP to exploit them on the right side, and it was taken without any hesitation. A nice attempt from USB to try to steal it, but a Camazotz damage not always going to be enough to secure that one.
Wow, what a just impressive, gutsy call from EP that ends up working, and now they've brought this game right back towards parity. It was in Dobbos Disciples' favor for a while, but you saw in those charts Doug had up there that it now favors them. Switch goes in aggressively with the sash, but he gets stunned in return, but he finds himself a juicy target anyway and takes off into the sky. It's Genesis who Fly's able to remove from the game, and right side Phoenix still stands as Tiger falls to Switch as well. Now Azrael in trouble, and Coast finds him. It's a nightmare all of a sudden as Compromise goes down to a double for Fly, who completes the killing spree.
Colossxl respawn, and he wanted blood, and he got it with a deicide for all of Dobbos. Too ambitious on the right side of the map. The ultimate from Switch bought enough time for everyone to just collapse on that one individual target, and the DPS from Compromise was all invested on the Phoenix. That's the weird thing about trying to do a 5-on-3 Phoenix siege when it's not the enhanced Fire Giant, when you don't have minions to strip away the backdoor protection, because that Phoenix is exponentially dealing more damage the longer you're there. So you have to make a conscious decision. Do you go for the Phoenix or do you go for the kills? And in that case, it didn't work out in Compromise's favor.
Well, the Mint Phoenix is going to go down. They can't push to end here in this spot, and they recognize they cannot. The respawn timers are too close. But what a big play there from Dobbos Disciples to hold on to their Phoenix. Critically, it's not just that they got the deicide, but that Phoenix still stands.
Yep.
If that was Phoenix for Phoenix and they both had to worry about fire minions, this is such a different story. But now it's just EP with an extra burden to consider. It's just Dobbos with an open door to ending the game if they win another fight and can push right through where that mid Phoenix used to be. What a big turnaround.
And now that 24-minute Fire Giant is just not as impactful as it's stripped away by every single member. Great defensive hold from Dobbos. They don't need the Fire Giant if they could just kill EP when they are the ones with it anyway. Now getting about a 9,600 gold lead. A great mental bounce back after losing the first game.
That hurts, man, for EP. They can still hold on, it can still win, but man, don't you love to see people rewarded for good calls. The thing is, they were rewarded for the good call, though, right? They got the Fire Giant. The problem is that they followed that up with not a good call, which was forcing down that right side Phoenix, and I think that the target selection wasn't there. I mean, honestly, totally, they probably could have back, spent gold, and pushed, and been fine.
Probably would have been the case. They didn't have really a lot of penetration to get that Phoenix. Without minions or the enhanced Fire Giant, the damage from the Hou Yi is not as much as they were probably hoping for. Very small window. Colossxl looking for a knockup, not able to find it onto Genesis. Using that range, and Dobbos still using their 3 assassin comp effectively by grouping up in the jungle, hiding behind these walls, using their wards for vision.
Same thing catch those errant targets coming out to face check in the jungle. So far, it's worked in their favor. Can Dobbos hold on, though, and complete with this unconventional composition? Without a warrior, without a guardian to be seen on this team, can they still bring it home? As EP have shown an ability to hold on, but this is exactly what they want. A couple targets potentially isolated in the left lane. They sash on the Tiger, take him up right away, but the rest of EP are nearby. Genesis goes up, as does Azrael. Tiger comes back down, still alive, but falls immediately. Genesis comes crashing in, but now he's in trouble. Aegis waited out, and Fly finds that kill. Azrael has to leave, and now the new wall left alone too. The stun comes through, but USB coast, and those hungry sharks gobble him up.
It's a 3-0 for Dobbos Disciples. Now going to go into the throne room. EP have to play defense in a 2-on-5.
A very difficult task up against a hungry Dobbos squad. The Titan already low. Azrael, the first member to get deleted by Fly. He drops the bombs. 5-0-6 for the mid lane Agni. Compromise sent back to base by Coast on the Ullr. His signature pick, and that's the Titan going down. A game 2 win, and Dobbos are not done yet.
A great mental bounce back, Dobbos Disciples. You can never count them out in the middle of a game, in the middle of a set, losing game number 1, coming back to win game number 2.
What a big play on the Phoenix, man. For me, that's it. It's all right there, is the way they make that defense on that Phoenix and the solo side. And really, it's not just that they defend it, but they lose everything, does European Powerhouses. All 5 members, and they don't even get the Phoenix.
That middle Phoenix return in kind. Dobbos Disciples able to really barrel it down there, utilizing their triple assassin composition effectively.
Yeah, it's just so heartbreaking for EP because they make a great call to get the Fire Giant in the first place, and they just can't clean that one up. So unfortunately for them, they end up going down. But that means we got ourselves a game 3. Let's get it back over to the desk. They got to break that down.
Well, the breakdown is Dobbos Disciples take it home the way that they planned on in game number 1.
I was going to say, not in that game, because it didn't start off very well for them at all.
Which is interesting, because we were talking about very clearly there's a top card and bottom card. You've got Dobbos Disciples, who are supposed to win, heavy air quotes, and European Powerhouses are supposed to lose, heavy air quotes. But they take game 1, and then they start off well.
They should have won game 2, in my eyes, too. What really was, the caster said it the best, where the Phoenix defense was such a big impact for them, swung the game, obviously, and found them the win. But they weren't winning that throughout at all. It worked out so well. The Thor rat combinations over in solo, so much pressure on overpowered USB. Makes a lot of sense against the Camazotz earlier on.
Yeah.
But then it all went wrong at that Phoenix.
It all went Pete Tong.
I was going to say that, but then I was like, no, well.
But that's what I was talking about in the picks and bans, where the Thor Ratatoskr strategy was really strong. I questioned the ability to execute, and and at the end of the day, what we saw was it worked out for the majority, but right when they needed to absolutely win the team fight, why did it go the other way? Lack of execution. The windows are so small with that team comp, and it's largely the reason they found themselves in a position to even have a winning game. But unfortunately, it's also the very reason that they're thrown from said driver's seat.
And now Dobbos has a chance to get back into this. Now they found a winning opportunity to get an even-tied game against just a 1 game to win the set here. And the one thing that I've seen time and time again is Genesis is focusing the solo lane a lot of the time onto overpowered USB. And that play here was the first sign from Dobbos Disciples' point of view that they had a way back in when EP got a little bit aggressive. But this is some of the Phoenix defense.
Yeah, this is the entire game right here. You can see Dobbos have a slight lead, but EP have the win in their sails. A little bit too far forward. That sets Agni up, and then all of a sudden Dobbos are on the offensive. They win a little team fight right here, and that's history.
What's one good thing that Assassins are great at? Chase potential.
Oh, yeah.
And they had 3 of them on the roster. You're not going to get away easy enough. And then it was just slowly but surely pick up 1 or 2. The Phoenixes have respawned on the other side, and they even things up again. I think the big play here, Tom, is going to really be getting something either overpowered is going to be safe on in this lane, or he's going to need some support from Colossxl this time around. Or Colossxl, I should say. I think it was Colossxl is what I want to say. That's why I keep reading
Colossxl is
Colossxl
big,
extra
like,
large.
not in the sense of gaining weight, but Colossxl. Like, I mean, it's like
put
large.
an A there and not an X, right?
Extra large is pretty colossal.
Colossal large. Colossal extra.
Colossxl.
With him, though, he needs to be looking to help out Overpowered in the early game. And if he's not going to be doing that, and they're going to allow Genesis and Azrael to own the solo lane,
Yeah.
then I need to see Colossxl go over to the duo lane or look for pressure elsewhere. Maybe around the Gold Fury, maybe looking to invade the jungle at the red buffs and pick off the mid laner.
Overpowered here on the Camazotz was able to provide a bunch of damage, and certainly it worked out there. But like you said, maybe a little bit more help needed in the early to mid phase. I'd like to see a Guardian. You know what? Do the Ymir solo, baby. I like to see that sort of thing. Give yourself a high pressure Guardian.
Hold up, you're getting focused and you want Ymir solo to come into action? Come on.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
You're crazy.
Yep.
You're crazy.
Yep. I like me some Ymir solo. That's there's so much potential.
Me too, but like not if I'm getting focused over and over again. I want Ymir. No, maybe if he gets pressure from Colossxl in the lane and he goes with the Ymir, sure, you can make that.
Well, yeah,
potentially
right,
work.
right. If Colossxl is going to be helping that lane,
But if he's not, I don't want Ymir there. You know what I mean? That's like putting Geb there, like deal with it. And Geb is
I
probably
don't know. You
Geb's
got
probably going
some
to deal with it a
clear-
little bit better.
the Geb is just going to be like, okay.
Your impressions are getting better.
Thank you, Taco Flex.
Does that tackle flex?
Just a-
The greatest thing ever.